Valentina Petrillo, a 51-year-old transgender athlete, recently made headlines at the Paris Paralympics due to her participation in the women's 400-meter event for visually impaired athletes. Although Petrillo did not qualify for the final, her presence at the event has sparked a significant and heated debate about the complex issues surrounding fairness, inclusion, and the integrity of women's sports. Petrillo's journey to the Paralympics is a remarkable and deeply personal one. Born male, she competed in men's track and field events until the age of 45. Following her transition, Petrillo began competing in women's events, a decision that has brought her both praise and criticism. Her participation in the Paris Paralympics marks a significant moment, as it highlights the ongoing and often contentious discussions surrounding the role of transgender athletes in women's sports. On the track in Paris, Petrillo's performance in the 400-meter semifinal was charged with emotional intensity. She achieved a personal best time of 57.58 seconds, but this was not enough to secure a place in the final. While this time is commendable, it is notably slower than the qualifying standard for male athletes in the same category, which stands at 54.00 seconds. Despite falling short of the final, Petrillo described her Paralympic experience as a triumph of inclusion and self-expression, emphasizing that her participation was not just about the race itself but also about her right to be recognized and accepted for who she is. However, Petrillo's inclusion in the women's event did not come without significant controversy. One of the most poignant and controversial outcomes of this situation involves Lorraine Gomes de Aguiar, a 27-year-old Brazilian athlete. Gomes de Aguiar, who lost her left eye to a rare form of cancer during her childhood, narrowly missed a place in the final due to Petrillo's participation, finishing as the fastest non-qualifier. This result has fueled the ongoing debate about whether it is fair for transgender women to compete against biological women in sports, with many arguing that it creates an uneven playing field. The controversy surrounding Petrillo's participation was further inflamed by comments from J.K. Rowling, the world-renowned author of the Harry Potter series. Rowling has been an outspoken critic of the inclusion of transgender women in female sports, and she took to social media to condemn Petrillo's participation in the Paralympics. In a strongly worded post, Rowling sarcastically referred to Petrillo as an out and proud cheat, and drew comparisons to disgraced athletes like Lance Armstrong, who was stripped of his titles for doping. Rowling's comments reflect a broader frustration among those who believe that allowing transgender women to compete against biological women undermines the principles of fair competition that are central to sports. In response to the criticism, Petrillo remained resolute and defiant. In a tearful interview following her race, she expressed her hope that her young son would be proud of his trans dad, and emphasized that she was simply being true to herself. She urged people not to fear transgender individuals and to recognize the suffering and discrimination they often face in their lives. Petrillo passionately argued that she could not change who she is and asked for understanding and acceptance rather than condemnation. Despite the overwhelming criticism and the controversy that her participation has sparked, Petrillo stood firm in her belief that her involvement in the Paralympics was a historic moment for transgender inclusion in sports. She acknowledged that her presence in the women's event raises legitimate questions, particularly for those who may feel disadvantaged by competing against a transgender athlete. However, Petrillo insisted that the pursuit of inclusion and the recognition of transgender rights must remain at the forefront of sports, arguing that a solution needs to be found that respects the rights and dignity of all athletes involved. Petrillo's remarks highlighted the emotional and human complexity of the issue. She spoke openly about the dangers that transgender individuals face, including violence, discrimination, and exclusion from society. She expressed her determination to continue competing and to use her platform to advocate for greater acceptance and understanding of transgender athletes.